word to wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about The Death of Doctor Strange by Jed MacKay and Lee Garbett. And in this video, I'm going to break down to you exactly how and why Doctor Strange is having to face death itself, but more importantly, why he's not. I'm going to explain all the connections and everything, what this is actually calling back to, and more right now. But first, if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy the video, I humbly ask that you Hulk smash that like button and share the video with your friends because it really helps the channel out. That said, let's talk about The Death of Doctor Strange #1. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this out of the way. In mainstream comics, the death of is typically used in a way to signify a change in the status quo, or in some cases, the return to a status quo. I would even point you to one of the more recent ones, which was the death of the mighty Thor. Thor didn't die in that series. It's just that Jane Foster stopped being Thor, thus the death of the mighty Thor. It was basically just a send-off for Jane Foster being Thor. That's all it was. There was no actual death. In this one, Doctor Strange is kind of going through a crisis. Not necessarily a midlife crisis either, just you can tell that his life is just kind of, I won't say in shambles, but it ain't where it should be. The guy is a Sorcerer Supreme, of course, and he has recently gotten back the usage of his hands, and by recent, I mean going back to Mark Waid's Doctor Strange #19, which don't worry, we'll be talking about that here in just a moment. But yeah, he's got a lot going on. The guy is a protector of the world. He has to look over the Strange Academy and prepare the next generation of potential Sorcerer Supremes to take his place if and when he's gone. He's got his surgeon's practice back. He's saving the world from mundane and supernatural threats. He's also got to protect his own campus as well as maintain a force field, a barrier of magic that protects the Earth from all sorts of supernatural incursions. And if that's not enough, he's also been kind of rocky in the area of the love department, because if you've been reading any of Captain Marvel, you would know they just recently had a fling in between the time that Carol wasn't dating Rhodey. You can also tell he's still carrying the torch for Clea, who some of you may or may not recognize as being the niece of Dormammu. And of course, he's got to take his best boy, Bats, out for walkies. There's also another element here going on, and it's mortality. Doctor Strange is struggling with it. He's always had this fascination with Koschei, the Deathless. Someone who was a major proponent of Russian folklore, and he's talking about how he was so fascinated with Koschei and the fact that he was able to basically render himself immortal by removing a piece of his soul and through some convoluted methods, hiding said piece of his soul within a needle and then placing that needle in an egg and then the egg in a duck and the duck in a rabbit and that rabbit in a chest and then placing the chest somewhere deep and dark where no one would be able to figure out where it is. Well, Strange has had this fascination for a long time, even before he was ever Sorcerer Supreme, even before he became a surgeon. This goes all the way back to when he was a little kid, and this is something he's always wanted to attempt. He's always wanted to be able to find the key to immortality and to extend human life. It's part of why he even became a surgeon in the first place. But that's another story altogether. The thing you really got to pay attention to here to really get a full grasp is that dark forces are always trying to crack the barrier that protects the Earth, the same barrier that Doctor Strange maintains on a regular basis. And even earlier in this comic, we see that it's kind of already starting, but Doctor Strange is able to keep it all in check. Even Doyle, one of the students at the Strange Academy, who also, in case you might have wondered, yes, he is the actual son of Dormammu. He is a student of Doctor Strange's, and he can feel it. He can tell that something's not right. Something is happening on the outer planes. Something is trying to break through into the Earth dimension, and Strange just is not paying it any real attention. It's not until after his entire day is over, after doing all of these shenanigans, that it finally hits him. Someone knocks on the door of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and when he answers the door, there's something dark inside sinister that's waiting on the other side. And we even get an instance where we see that Doctor Strange is not necessarily scared, but he doesn't want to be alone. He keeps talking about how his friends, the Avengers, the Defenders, all of the people who he relies on, they would not be able to help him stop this threat. However, that doesn't change the fact that he doesn't want to be alone. He wants them to be there for him. He doesn't want to die alone. And it's here that we discover that at this precise moment, everyone across the Marvel Universe who's connected in some way to the realm of magic, or even if they're not, everyone kind of starts to recognize something's not right. Wong is probably the first one to notice it, as does Thor, Shaman from Alpha Flight, Bats. We see the magic has picked up on it. Even Mr. Fantastic is aware, as is Zelma and Dr. Voodoo. All of them are aware something's not right, and when they arrive at the Sanctum Sanctorum, it's already too late. Doctor Strange has been murdered. He is laying on the ground with a dagger in his chest, and his hands have been removed. Now, before we break down any more of this, I kind of want to let you guys know what this actually ties back to. This actually ties back to Mark Waid's and Jesus Sai's Doctor Strange number 19. And in this comic, the person who was killed on this certain stretch of road has decided to haunt this same stretch of road and cause more vehicular accidents. And one particular night, this young woman and her son are driving on this back road and he attacks them. Well, this accident, while the mother, she survives and is, for the most part, relatively unscathed, despite her car being flipped over on top of itself, her son did not fare quite as well. And when Doctor Strange arrives on the scene and he's looking the boy over, he discovers that due to the car crash and his ejection from the car, he suffered a brain injury, and the amount of blood between his brain and his skull is increasing that will cause so much pressure that eventually it's going to kill him. There's only one problem. Doctor Strange knows this. He knows what to do to fix the problem, but he can't. That is kind of the rub with Doctor Strange if you're not familiar. Even though he is the Sorcerer Supreme after losing his hands in a near-fatal car crash, that's the one thing he's never really been able to fix about himself is his hands. He's never gotten back the full usage of his hands. Yes, he can make all those weird, crazy symbols and everything with his fingers, but he has a tremble to his hands that will make it to where he can never operate on anyone safely. Realizing that this mother is about to lose her son, it's actually this moment of selflessness that causes him to realize that he needs to do something. And to do so, he has to cut a deal. He decides to reach out to the realm beyond and speak with Chanok, the keeper of the forbidden spells. A guy who basically has access to powers and text and tomes that are so ancient and so dangerous that no one would dare try to use them. It's even said in the same comic that the incantations within these books are written in languages older than time by beings so repulsive that starlight refused to shine upon them, and the books were bound with the skins of demons who dared dream of being angels. This is incredibly heavy stuff, and Doctor Strange knows that this is probably going to be the only way he can actually get what he needs. You see, in order to fix Doctor Strange's hands, he needs a spell of divine restoration. Now, why is this the case? Basic magic itself can't do this. He can't just magic his hands back to normal. But after this incident, he was able to get the spell of divine restoration that would heal his hands permanently. The thing is, this spell that Doctor Strange is about to make a deal for is not something that can be done lightly. You see, Chanok is willing to just give him the spell. He's actually not going to ask him for anything in return, because at the end of the day, the spell of divine restoration, dangerous as it might be, it actually is even more dangerous in the sense that it could just as easily heal his hands as it could completely sever his bond to magic permanently. This is yet another reason why Doctor Strange has never ever really gone through the trouble of trying to heal his hands for the sake of becoming a surgeon again. Not only that, if he's cut off from magic, this would open the rest of the world up to all kinds of supernatural and demonic incursions. Now, of course, Chanok didn't ask for anything in particular. He said he would give him the spell for free, and he does, and Doctor Strange is able to go back to Earth and save that little boy's life. Of course, in in doing so, the spell actually destroys his hands, and it freaks him out because he thinks that the spell has gone horribly wrong or that Chanok has betrayed him in some way. However, that's not the case. His hands are destroyed so that they can be rebuilt anew, and oddly enough, the spell doesn't have any adverse effects as far as cutting him off from the realm of magic. He still has the realm of magic at his disposal. So there you have it. He has everything back and can go back to doing like he wants to do. However, there's a problem. Chanok did say something to him when he left with the spell that there would be a price for this. Eventually, at some point, he's gonna have to pay it. And it's not even necessarily that it's Chanok's price, it's just a price in general. And something tells me with the death of Doctor Strange, he just paid that price. Think about it. What's missing from his body? His hands. This is something that could very easily be tied back to Chanok. Now, of course, the usual suspects that come into play show up almost immediately after. Baron Mordo and Caecilius both arrive at the Sanctum Sanctorum because they are keenly aware that Doctor Strange is dead, and Baron Mordo is even more upset about the fact that it wasn't him that did it. And even crazier than that is that he kind of wants to get to the bottom of this as well, alongside Zelma and Dr. Voodoo and Wong. He wants answers as much as the next person, but they don't have time to look into the death of Doctor Strange because just as Doctor Strange warned his students at the Strange Academy, the second that he is no longer around to maintain the spell that protects the Earth from outside forces, everything starts to fall apart. Captain America chimes in through Doctor Strange's Avengers card, telling them that there are multiple extra-dimensional invasions. Not only that, but as Zelma points out, the Purple Dimension has claimed the Gobi Desert, China is about to nuke them, and the Sixth Dimension has raised a fortress in Peru, and the sunken city of Calamesh has resurfaced off the coast of England. Everything is just happening at once. And what makes matters even stranger than that, see what I did there? Another Doctor Strange arrives. Earlier in this comic, there was a throwback to something that Doctor Strange used to say a lot back in the old days, back in his earlier years, that Wong mentions like, oh, you used to say zounds. You haven't said zounds in ages. And here comes a Doctor Strange who says zounds, because this actually proves Doctor Strange did find a method of cheating death. A trick similar to Koshay's, but not exactly Koshay's trick, but something that is along the same lines, as we see a Doctor Strange who appears on set with a very similar look to his costume and garb from when he first appeared in Strange Tales number 110 back in 1963. This Doctor Strange has no clue what year it is, and more importantly, they are keenly aware that something terrible has happened, because if they're around, that definitely means that the worst has happened, and the worst couldn't be further from the truth, considering that the present day Doctor Strange is dead. How did Doctor Strange do this? We have no idea. There's no clue. There's been no hint as to how he did it. All we know is that whatever it is he did wasn't exactly the same trick that Koshay used, but it was something very similar. And whatever it was, it probably cost him something incredibly important. Now, what that is, who knows? And more importantly, who it was that actually struck the blow that killed Doctor Strange, we don't know that either. That said, if you were curious about what the hell is going on with the death of Doctor Strange and why certain things are happening, now you know. If you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button and make sure to share this video all over the internet and with all your friends so they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to the death and rebirth of Doctor Strange. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about the death of Doctor Strange number 1. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.